Alright, so for today, you're going to learn how to solve trig inequality. So it's going to be really similar to trig equations. If you have the equation, if you have, for example, let's review a little bit. If you have psi equal to -1/2, and we want to know between 0 and 2 pi, to solve this one, we do the inverse function, which is inverse of psi. So theta is equal to inverse of psi -1/2, right? Then what we can solve is we look for when psi, which is the y values on the unit circle, when y is -1/2. Y is -1/2 is happening in two places, quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. Where is that going to be? It's going to happen at 7 pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6. That will be a solution, and you'll be done. That's nice. However, this one is inequality. Inequality is not going to be exact values. It's the interval. It's cover more than one solution, right? We can have something in between, like a decimal. It's not going to be a nice values only. So we want to give the answer in terms of inequality, the interval, right? So what we're going to do is, instead of just be done, okay, these are my solution, we have to identify that solution on the unit circle. And how we do it is really, I think, it's going to be a little bit confusing at first, but it's not too bad. Like I keep saying, it's not too bad, right? So what we can do, let's say instead of that, I'm going to switch this to less than, right? That's the inequality. So these are the two values that we looked at. If it's less than, here's how we can identify. We're going to use this unit circle as well. Less than, how we looked at it is the interval where it's going to be below or on the left side of the 2 points that we identified. These are the 2 points. In this case, can we highlight the between those two, right? So the only option is going to be below, right? That is mean anything in the part that I just highlight for you. If I choose any of those values and plug it back to the equation, sign of that values is going to be less than -1/2, guarantee. So how we write the solution, we always write our solution in terms of the inequality. So it's going from, we always go counterclockwise, right? Counterclockwise. So over here, I'm not going to start from 0 because that's not part of the solution. So here, the first point I can start is 7 pi over 6. And then I can keep going all the way to 11 pi over 6. And that's it. And I cover it. In this case, it's the entire interval. It's together. And 7 pi over 6 is less than 11 pi over 6. So that's fine. So that's, I can finish. And this will be my solution. Okay, let's do another one. If we look at problem 2, same idea. We want to solve for cosine theta greater than or equal to -√2 over 2. We want to solve for theta, so we know that's going to be the inverse of cosine. Now cosine is the x value is negative. Where's the x value is negative? It's in quadrant 2 and quadrant 3. -√2 over 2 is right here, right? 3 pi over 4 and 5 pi over 4. This one it says greater than. Which you think which part of the graph that you looked at? Remind yourself, less than, I'm either look below those 2 points or on the left side of those 2 points. Now I have these 2 points, this is greater than, so it's going to be the opposite direction, right? So it's going to be, if it's greater than, it's going to be above or on the right side. In this case, I'm just sketch the highlight, right? I cannot do above those 2 points because they're not evenly on the 2 quadrant. In this case, I have to look at the right side of it, so which is this piece. Now, when you do this, you cannot say, if you're going to think about you can write the solution, this is the part that's going to be tricky a little bit. We cannot put them together for this reason. Let's say you can start from 3 pi, we always go counterclockwise, which is this direction, right? So if you start from 3 pi over 4, you cannot say 3 pi over 4 to 5 pi over 4 because if you looked over here, there's nothing highlighted here. It's not part of the solution, so I cannot do 3 pi over 4 less than, right? That is not true. So I cannot use that. So that's out. Now, if you're going to start, and if you say 5 pi over 4 all the way to 3 pi over 4, if you set it that way, it's not true. Because think about this. 5 pi over 4 is bigger than 3 pi over 4. So you still cannot do this. That is not a true statement, right? That is not true. So I cannot use it, right? And then so now what we have to do in this case, we have to split it up into intervals that make it true. So the first one you can think about is from 0 to 3 pi over 4. 0 is less than 3 pi over 4. And this is this piece right here that I'm highlighting right here, right? It's in pink. Then the second piece from 5 pi over 4 to 2 pi. And that is a true statement. So we're going to use these two. We're going to have to split them up. So sometimes we can use them together as one interval, but sometimes we have to split it up to make the statement true. So that is the thing that you need to work on, and we just have to pause and ask ourselves, all right, can I combine them? Or do I have to split them up? Because when you write the inequality, check your solution yourself. Like, is this a true statement, right? If you look over here, that is not true. So I cannot combine them. That's a hint to tell you need to split them up to the right interval. All right, I'm going to ask you to pause the videos and try problem 3 and see how you do with this one. I did post the answer key in the calendar, so make sure that you look at the answer key and see if that's okay. If you get confused and get something else, again, I will take questions when I return. All right, so pause the video, try this problem, see how you do. And when you're ready, you can turn to the next page, and then we can go from there. I'll do another example. All right, now that you're ready to move on, look at this statement. They want f of x is less than g of x. Go back to what you given to you. You have f of x is 3 minus 4 cosine x, and g is 1. So I just put them together, right? You have two different equations. They want you to have f of x less than g of x. So that's what I would do. To solve this equation, minus 3, negative 4 cosine less than negative 1, 3. Sorry. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. Then to solve this one, I'm going to divide by negative 4. Remind yourself when you divide negative on both sides, we need to flip the inequality. So it's going to be cosine greater than 1/2. To solve for x, we're going to do the inverse. So inverse of 1/2. You don't have the unit circle here, but that's okay. You can sketch one yourself quickly. This is the x value is 1/2. Where would that happen in? Right here, pi over 3. And then we have add 2 pi over 3. Alright, so for this one, the inequality is greater than. So if it's greater than, remember greater than is going to be above on the right side of the graph. So this is above. So ask yourself, can I combine these two inequality? We're going to go counterclockwise direction. So pi over 3 less than x less than 2 pi over 3. Is this statement true? Yes, because pi over 3, it is less than 2 pi over 3. So that is okay. We can combine them. You don't have to split them up. They are together. So that would be the solution. All right. All right, moving on. Let's look at problem. You can try problem 5. Look at problem 6. If you looked over here, this is already factored out. So you don't have to do anything but to set each parenthesis less than 0, because that's what they want, less than 0. So you can do the other one, which is 2 sine theta plus 1 less than 0, and we solve it, right? So we can add 1, divide by 2, which is a half, then theta is less than inverse of 1/2. Think about your unit circle. Cosine x value is 1/2. It's going to happen at two places, quadrant 1 and quadrant 2, which is right here. This is pi over 3. And then it's going to happen down here, which is 5 pi over 3. It's less than, so remember less than is either on the left side or below. So this k is on the left side, right? So your interval, if you start, is going to be pi over 3 less than theta less than 5 pi over 3. Is that a true statement? Yes. Pi over 3 it is less than 5 pi over 3, so I can stop right there. So that's one solution. But you have another equation right here to solve for. So we're going to minus 1 divide by 2. Now, remember, I just want to remind you, this one you divide by 2. So 2 is a positive number, so I don't have to flip the inequality, right? Which one you divide by? 2. 2 is a positive, so don't flip the inequality because you divide by positive number. So this one is sine inverse negative 1/2. Look at your unit circle. Sine is negative. It's going to happen in quadrant 3 and 4, right? And that is when y value is negative 1/2, which is happening at 7 pi over 6 and then 11 pi over 6. If it's less than, below. So I'm going to highlight in a different color, below, right? So let's write your solution, 7 pi over 6 less than theta, sorry, there's no equal, 11 pi over 6. Is this a true statement? Yes. 7 pi over 6, it is less than 11 pi over 6. So this would be your solution. And we don't have to break them up, they are together. It is a true statement, so they together. So you can stop right there with that solution, okay? For the rest of the problem, I want you to give it a try. Again, check the solution, see how you do. I'll give you a couple hints for the next 3 questions. So for problem 7, you see they already factor out already. So you can start with sine greater than or equal to 0, and the other one is 2 cosine theta minus root 2 greater than or equal to 0. You can start solving it and again identify your solution using the unit circle. For problem 8, this one is quadratic function, so that's tell you either we can do the GCF, which is greatest common factor, or we can use a diamond. In this case, we can use this GCF because there is no C value. So for this one, you can take out cosine, and then you can have cosine minus 1 less than 0. And now what you can do is set each of them less than 0 and go from there. So I'll give you time to practice and try this, right? And then you can find the solution. Same thing with problem 9. Ask yourself, is this a GCF or is this a diamond method where I have to factor out? Once you factor them out, you can set them greater than 0 and solve for it. Okay, so give it a try. For all of these problems, again, the answer key is shared with you. So make sure that you check the answer key. So make sure that you did everything correct, and then I'll take question when I return. All right. Have a good day, everyone.